Hi friends, this is Kate. I'm in my studio and I have been a very busy girl lately. I have not been in my studio, but I have been making things just out and about where I couldn't bring them to you. So I'm sorry about that. But I wanted to bring you two things that I finished in the last couple of days that I wanted to just walk you through so that it might bring you some inspiration on your own projects. The first is this little fabric journal. They're both journals. The first one closes with this little vintage brooch. I am really loving closing these journals with a little tiny piece of jewelry. So with this one, I started off with a piece of quilt that someone had done. It is this piece. And this is not part of it. I just found another strip of fabric in a coordinating color and added it to make it a little bit bigger. So I just took this existing piece and folded it over. I really loved it. And I wanted to feature it so that you could see it. So I didn't cover it up with a lot of stuff. I did add a little accent of the lace at the top, and I repeated that in the closure, which goes like that. When you open it up, I also didn't put a pocket here. I could, but I don't think I'm going to. If somebody wanted to add something later, they could do that. But I do have a beautiful little pocket as you open it up. It's just a piece of, it's actually a napkin with this really pretty edging. And then I added to that this little vintage piece of embroidery off of a tea towel. With this napkin, I just folded the whole thing over. You can see that. So it creates a couple of spreads. And that's the outside of this page and here. I loved this, so I didn't want to cover that. And I just added a very simple pocket to this side that goes kind of over, and actually it has a little mini pocket, which you could stick a pen in if you wanted to. Just added a little Suffolk puff in white and a button. And then I went ahead and did some slow stitching, kind of that cantha-like embroidery of running stitch in a pattern here, to coordinate with this. So I wanted to keep it simple, but still give it a little bit of interest. On the next page, I added a pocket of, this is a tiny little runner that is just this big, and it was only, like this long. So I added that, and I kept all of this. I just cut it straight across, and then I actually turned it over and stitched it so it would have a clean edge. This is just a little pocket I made out of some fabric. And again, like this other one, I took this whole napkin and I folded it over. So this had a piece of embroidery like that, and I added, it just went to here. So then I added some more fabric there. I stitched a few little flowers. So this one actually has two pockets. It has this and it has this. And again, what are the pockets for? It's for writing stories. For me, journals are all about storytelling or preserving memories. And oh my goodness, you guys, I'm coming off of my daughter's graduation from high school. So talk about memories. I have a feeling I will be processing this for a long time. And it will probably find its way into some journals. Journals of all kinds. Again, I made a couple little pockets just out of some fun fabrics. And then on the final page, I have this little applique. It was coming off of a tea towel, so I just plucked it off and I put it on here. Tiny little pocket if I wanted to put something in there. And then this one has double pockets, really. I guess triple if you count that. Then again, I did not put a pocket here. I just wanted that quilt to shine through. And then I added just a little doily that I picked up recently at an estate sale. I thought it was so cute, and I wanted it to be the star. So I just let that be there. That's it on this journal. And then I can fold that. I could either pin it like that, or it's a little easier if you bring the lace around the front. And then I just stick it with the pin. And I mean, you can go through all the layers. It doesn't really matter. It's not hurting anything. And just pin it closed. So that is the first journal. And I really love how it turned out. It's just that blue and white is so pretty, so classic. And then, of course, this little silver and blue bauble here is fun, and it just sets it off. All right, so that was the first journal. And then I made this journal. And as this one I patchworked myself. Okay, so this is a found piece that I got, and it was already quilted. This one, I got some 5-inch squares in a charm pack. And for you who are new, a charm pack is a little set of fabrics, 42 squares of 5-inch fabric. So yeah, I don't have one sitting around. I was looking. But anyway, I loved these colors. They're just vibrant and fun. And so I did a pattern of anything this color and then anything in this lighter color. But then on this side, I covered it. Okay, so on the back, you can still see all of the things. But I love this. You can still see the colors coming through, but it's not quite obviously as bright as the back. I covered it with this little doily, and I love a doily with a section in the middle that I can stitch on. These pieces came out of some embroidered sari fabric, which I love working with because obviously sari fabric embellishments are so beautiful. Fun stitching and a few little sequins. And I went with 3 in the middle, and then it just wanted something else. So I put one each place here. Love this little button, or pin, little brooch that coordinates. So I've closed it with this. It's just a stick pin. It doesn't even have a closure. It just kind of tucks in. So that's fun to coordinate with my little babies. I got that, I think, at an antique mall. And I used for the closure this same fabric, but just those orange flowers were interspersed with this blue flower. So I picked the other part, and it like almost looks like metal work, but it's all stitching. Okay, super bright. You can still see this here. I'm leaving it. I just love it. I could have put a pocket here. I could put a pocket with lace there, but I think I like it how it is. I took this really pretty piece of fabric. I folded it over so it is still a 5-inch square there. And I just thread painted the blue flowers. I love how it adds texture and some interest, but I really loved the watercolor design on the fabric, so I left the rest how it is. And as you can see, I grabbed a thread painted napkin here. So it has a border that's really pretty, and it goes around because it's the whole page. Now this one I constructed differently. Sometimes I fold everything together and stitch it down the middle, but I'm learning that if I put the little signatures in one after another like this, it kind of lays better. So I'm trying it this way. So on this inner page, it's just white. Now I could stitch something here, but I wanted to highlight this little white piece, and I stitched this down in a way where, you know, you can really see it. And then this part, I folded over another little vintage, it was a runner, and this was actually the side of it. And so, you know, you can see this, it was like that. But I just folded it down, and I did some little blue stitching to go with the blue flowers. I like how simple this is in contrast with how bright the cover is. So it kind of brings you into bright. This goes great with this. But then, okay, then you'll get a visual pause for a moment with the white. Continuing this same runner that's here, and I did this same stitch all the way around. This border provided a great line, so I just followed it around with a running stitch, and it's the same basic color as the flowers. Then I went with something a little different to provide interest. I went with this antique quilt and made a little pocket out of it. I love how that turned out. And I kind of love that you can see the little scallop under the edge. The scallop is just this, again, a hanky. Folded it in half, or really in quarters, and folded it up, okay? And that made this signature. So I attached a pocket made out of this antique quilt on the front in a same kind of blues, introducing a little pink there, which I'm continuing into the middle. Okay, love this. It's a little tiny mini runner. And now you've got the stitching here, you've got the lace there, and then this wonderful little flower. Made a pocket out of that. And then on this side, I actually took the reverse. So really, it should lay so that the lace, well, I mean, I just folded it over. So this is actually the back side showing. This is the front side showing. but I just kind of like the extra little bit. I could have cut it and flipped it, but I like this. So I just folded it and made a pocket there. So this is the rest of this. And I love how that goes. If you ever have a smallish piece, whether it's a hanky or a cocktail napkin or something like that, you can use them on facing pages and it just will tie it together. Always coming into, make sure everything's good. I don't really want loose. I don't mind fraying at all, but I don't really want loose threads because I don't want it to unravel in any way. There we go. Thread. It's everywhere. Do any of you walk around just kind of covered in thread? I find that it's always there. Then the last page, again, back to a very simple design that was on this hanky that I just snipped off and folded there. But it's just folded over, so the whole thing is in there. And it's nice to have a double layer of fabric there. So that's really pretty. And then we've got the really bright back pocket. And again, on the back, I just left it. I could cover it with a doily, and I auditioned a few things to go on the back. You know, I could cover it with something like that, or like this, and I could have a little pocket. That would work. I could do something like this with a thread work, you know, like half of a pocket. But I love that. I just like how bright it is. So I'm going to leave it for now. I'll probably just leave it. And then again, we're just going to come back here and I can pin it closed and we're good to go. There's lots of closures you could do. You could do a little, a button or something else, but I loved how this brooch goes with my flowers. So these are the two journals I've been working on. I have been out and about running around and have been sewing on the way, but I wanted to share these with you before I go put them in my shop. I hope you enjoyed that and it provides a little bit of inspiration for your own projects. As always, please follow me here and on Instagram. And that way, if you tag me, I can see your work because I love to see what our community is doing. All right, that's all. Go out there and be creative. Thanks. Bye-bye.
I love it.
Smile, Grandma. Smile, smile, wave. Smile. You're in that, David. You know.